Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for night 2, 10/23. It is our first big slate today. We got 10 games on both FanDuel and Draftkings. We will go through that. But before, I am Tyler, your host, at FlatTyler83 for your DFS sites and Twitter. Now let's get into the show a little bit, but before we do, come join us at LionStar 7 free day trial if you go through the app stores. Free week sounds pretty good to me. If you've never tried us before, just download the app, use that free trial on Android or iOS App Store, and give us a try. Now let's get into the slate as a whole. Starting off with the good old point guard position. I like myself over there a little bit better. Anyways, highest owned point guard on FanDuel, Ja Morant, 24% owned. He's 9.4K. First competitive basketball in a while. Suspensions, injuries, all that. He missed pretty much the whole year last year. He's back in a great matchup versus Utah. I get why he's high owned. I'm definitely going to have some of him, but I'm not going to go overboard. There are just so many different ways to get different today. I don't feel like I got to stick to Ja Morant. Next, we got Dyson Daniels, 4,200. I think this is some of the better chalk on the slate today. I am definitely going to be having some. He's 4,200. He likely does start today. He was starting in the preseason, playing similar minutes to Jalen Johnson or Trae Young. Trae Young played less, but he was up there. So absolutely interested in Dyson Daniels at 4,200. He could get meaningful minutes tonight and fill that DeJounte Murray role, and he is able to fill the stat sheet multiple different ways, so I'm very interested in that. Next, we got Josh Giddey, 6,300. I'm all over Josh Giddey. We have seen in years prior when he has the ball in his hand, when he's playing point guard, he has a really big ceiling. He can fill up the stat sheet, get you points, get you assists, do all that. In the last 20 games of last year, he was averaging 25 minutes a game at 1.2 fantasy points per minute. There is upside here. Now, this Pelicans team, I would expect, is going to play a pretty fast pace. I mean, they are going to be small. They're going to be able to get out and run, and it would be in their favor to do that. So if that's the case, there could be a lot of possessions in this game, and I think Josh Giddey's an interesting spot. Definitely interested in him, as I am quickly. Now, getting into some pivots. I love myself some Steph Curry tonight. 8,400 is just way too cheap for the guy's ceiling. I know last year he wasn't really all that great, at least by Steph Curry standards. It's a new season. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back to his ways. He needs to carry this team, and it is a great matchup versus Portland, who really isn't going to be able to stop anybody all year long. Next, we got Colin Sexton, 6,700. This guy just has a absolutely giant ceiling. Good fantasy per minute player. I do worry a little bit about his minutes, though. We have him at 30.5 right now. In my own model, I think I have him at 28, but he's still popping up for me, and he has that ceiling where he can really get it going and go for 50 or so, and this matchup isn't that bad, so definitely interested in some low-owned Sexton. Got to talk about Trae Young. You know, salaries on this slate are pretty weak. Trae Young's is one of the ones that are a little more closer to normal, but he does not have DeJounte Murray anymore to deal with. And he has a huge ceiling versus a Brooklyn Nets team that isn't great. And I like Trae Young with the extra usage of no Murray to do some work today. Definitely liking some Trae at low ownership. And we've seen him go versus the Nets and have big games. 63, 46 last year. Had games of 52 the year before. Games of mid 50 the year before. He continually does it against the Nets, so very interested there. Then we got Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell had some absolutely giant games last year, 60 plus point ability, and I'm all for it versus Toronto. Now, it is healthy Cleveland team, so maybe his fantasy point per minute isn't up there quite as high as it was last year, but this guy can fill the bucket, and he is the alpha on the team. If he's losing fantasy points, I would be shocked. It's going to be more so the Darius Garlands of the world, and then either, Jared Allen or Mobley, and then obviously the small forward there. So I definitely am interested in Donovan Mitchell at low ownership. His ceiling is just right. Then we got to go to Dennis Schroeder, 6,200. I'm interested in here. There's no Mikal Bridges. It is going to be him and Cam Thomas kind of running the show from the point guard position. He was able to show up last year with a slew of mid-30 and 40-point games. And I'm fine to go there in an up-paced matchup versus Atlanta Hawks, who really have been pretty bad versus point guards, especially without DeJounte Murray. Trae Young's defense is just awful, so definitely willing to go to some Schroeder. And on to the DraftKings side, our high-owned Manuel Quickly. Look, there's no RJ Barrett. There's no Bruce Brown. This team is going to need him to score, and I don't mind going too quickly. It isn't the greatest matchup in the world. Cleveland has been pretty good to opposing guards, but Quickly is going to be asked to do a lot, so definitely interested to go there. Steph Curry, I love him. James Harden is just going to have a huge usage. It's the James Harden show. There's no PG-13. There's no Kawhi Leonard. James is going to get his. Definitely interested in him. One guy we didn't talk about, LaMelo Ball. I am a little interested in LaMelo Ball. I do worry about his minutes. They can be cautious about his minutes, though. All right, getting over to the shooting guard position on FanDuel. We got Norman Powell. For shooting guard, I'm pretty much sticking to chalk today. Norman Powell, I absolutely love. I think he's going to have a super high usage with the Clippers. Like I said, when talking about Harden, there's no PG-13. There's no Kawhi Leonard. Powell is going to be asked to score the ball. That's what he does good, and I'm interested in him at 5,100. Dyson Daniels, we went over, very interested, as I am with Josh Giddey. I'm not that interested in Desmond Bane, though, and the pivots on a shooting guard we've already talked about on point guard, so we'll move over to DraftKings high-owned. Colin Sexton, Mitchell, and Bane we have all talked to. My worry about Bane, look, his price is down where you can kind of consider him. However, Marcus Smart's healthy, Ja Morant's healthy. They have Edney now at center. I just think his usage is going to be a little hard to come by. 8K is a little bit pricey for me. I wish he was just a little bit lower. Grady Dick, I just don't think he's going to get a ton of usage now that the team is healthy. So not really going there as well. Now, getting over to small forward, Scotty Barnes. He is absolutely one of my favorite plays. 26% owned. I'm fine to go there. There's plenty of ways to get different. So I'm not totally scared off by a little bit of chalk today. Norman Powell, I talked about. I love him. Desmond Bane, not my favorite. If you want to play him, that is fine for you. But I'm going to probably side with some other plays. I would rather Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen has 50-point, ceiling. He's in a decent matchup versus Memphis. And I got to say I like myself some Markkanen. I am a little worried that they may manage his minutes a little bit, looking for a trade partner or something. If they are not, if he plays 34 plus minutes, I absolutely love this price point for him. Tobias Harris got new digs. He's in Detroit now. His usage should go up now that he does not have to compete with Maxey and Embiid. Only has to compete really with Cunningham and Ivy. And he can definitely take some of that usage from those guys. He's going to shoot the ball. I worry a little bit about ceiling, but it is a high-paced matchup versus the Pacers, so pretty interested there. And then I got to bring up my man Jalen Johnson. I just really like his game from a fantasy perspective. He just fills the stat sheet in so many different ways, has a high fantasy point per minute. There's no DeJounte Murray, so usage is going to be there. And he's going pretty much unowned. So I think he is, in a very interesting spot here. He also doesn't have to deal with Bridges' defense anymore, or he's going to have Cam Johnson on him, and I'm not scared of that. And I don't think Cam Johnson's going to knock him off many boards. So very, very interested in Jalen going super low owned. And on to small forward on DK. Marketing, we talked about Cameron Johnson. 5,500 is a little pricey for me. I just don't think there's a ton of ceiling at that price, but I don't mind a little bit. Desmond Bain, Grady Dick, we've talked about. John Konkar at 3,300 is interesting, but it's if he gets the minutes. We only have him at 14 minutes right now. And if he's only getting that, he's not really getting there. The other thing is the consensus is at 8 points on him. So I don't know if we should really be getting too much Konkar in this situation. Moving it over to power forward now. All right, Scotty Barnes, we talked about him. Brandon Clark is getting some love, 20% owned. He's 4.4K. We have him at 20 minutes. He is a high fantasy point per minute guy. My thing is, I think there's plenty of other ways we can get value without having to go down to Brandon Clark and a guy that's only going to play 20 minutes. He has huge upside, but we need him to get a little bit more than 20. Can he do it in only 20? Absolutely. He's done it plenty of times before. In that amount of time, I just want a little bit more ceiling, so I'm probably going to pull off a chalky Brandon Clark a little bit and just go elsewhere. Lauri Markkanen, we talked about. Jared Allen, and I want to just throw Mobley in this also. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen are in a really good spot versus the Raptors, and I'm interested in one or the other, not them together. The reason being, both of them are going to need to hit the boards and score to really pay off a fantasy price. So one or the other, I am very interested in this spot versus the Raptors, who just have been awful versus the center lately. So down for that. Then Zion Williams, Williamson. We got to talk about him. High fantasy point per minute guy. Over the last 20 last year, 1.33 per minute. There's no Joval now, so he does not have to compete against Joval for boards. And there is a chance that him and Herb Jones are kind of playing the center, which sounds crazy to talk about Herb Jones, a 6'7" guy that's like 205 pounds playing that center spot. But the Pelicans may just go small ball, and Zion could be playing there a lot, I would say, versus a center like Vooch that, is a little stronger than some others. So Zion, I think I'm very interested in. We have him at 33.5 minutes. He played all preseason. He's good to go. He is questionable with an illness, but in all reality, I'm sure he plays today, so definitely interested in some Zion there. Power forward on DraftKings, we got Lauri Markkanen. Santi Aldama, 17% owned. He is 5K. It's another spot where I just don't know if there's really that much ceiling. Santi's been decent, 0.94 fantasy point per minute, but what we saw from Memphis last year is they rarely played too many guys big minutes, so I wouldn't be that surprised if he is only at like 28 minutes. We have him at 30.5, so he's popping up a little bit right now, but if you roll that back just a little bit, his ceiling is gone, and that's my worry. He just doesn't get quite enough minutes to really pay it off. Cameron Johnson, we talked about. 3K for Yavasuli. Look, if he gets minutes at 3K, it's great, and I would be totally fine going with there. I just have no idea how many minutes he's going to play, if he's going to play. He came from France Olympic team and got a deal in the NBA. So Zaire Williams, another one. We have him at 18 minutes. I have no idea how much he's going to play. If he plays more, if he plays more than 18, then at 3K, he's absolutely worthy. Getting over to the center spot, Brandon Clark, we talked about. Jared Allen, we talked about. Alperen Sengun, I'm definitely interested in. Steven Adams is questionable, though. If Adams is active, maybe Sengun doesn't have quite as much run, but he is in a very good spot versus Charlotte, who just has not been good versus big men. Draymond and Trace Jackson Davis, I am both fairly interested in. I would probably do one or the other. Trace Jackson Davis can get a lot of run quickly. We have him at 24 minutes. If he gets, a couple extra minutes, he can really blow his salary out of the water. So definitely interested in him. 1.25 fantasy per minute over the last 20 games, averaging 23.4 minutes. So that's pretty much what we have. And at 4.7K, he's definitely of interest. Zach Edney, 5.3K in a great spot versus Utah. I have a ton of him right now. He is one of my highest owned players. I think he's in a very interesting spot to put up some numbers. He looked good in preseason. We just have some worry. We don't know what his minutes are going to be. So we have him at 26.8. That is fair. I think he's going to be over a fantasy per minute player, and then he's also in a really good matchup. So definitely interested in some Edney. And then we talked about Evan Mobley already, as well as the chalky guys. Getting over to DraftKings, high-owned Nick Richards, 4K. He's going to be starting. I think you got to go with him on DraftKings. He's going to be super chalky, but for good reason. Absolutely fine going with some Nick Richards there. Brandon Clark's only 3,700. That is super cheap for him as well. There just isn't a ton of upside left on that bone. Andre Drummond, we have not talked about. This guy is like a 1.35 fantasy per minute guy. If he plays 30 plus minutes, he's in a just absolute dynamite spot, and I would want a ton of them. I just don't know what his minutes are going to be. We have him at 29.5. I think he is a good bet today if he's at low owned to go hard on. If he's at high owned, maybe pull off him a little bit just because the minutes thing. Or if any info comes about his minutes today and he's going to be 30 plus, then he's in an absolute great spot. I do like Andre Drummond, and he's going to be a spot that we probably go to a lot. I would not be that surprised because Embiid reached out to Drummond saying, we need you here, because Embiid knew he was going to miss so many games. If he literally just takes kind of the Embiid role, obviously he's not as skilled offensively, but those Embiid minutes could just go straight to him in those situations. And if that is the case, Drummond is going to be cash at 7K. Anyways, that'll do it for us today. That's the first big time show. 10 games to go over. Tried to run through it as quick as I could. And you guys have a good one. We'll be back later. Peace.